at the speaker. 1701, 1701.
Welcome to Hope for My City podcast, the jail edition. Man, I am so excited. You know, we did like a little soft launch on some of this, had Jason helping out with some of that. But man, I've been talking with the folks, the good folks at the Sheriff's Department. Man, God is doing some great things there. We're able to come together and I'm just excited. I'm excited on what we're able to do. And so we're going to officially be able to do Hope for My City Jail Edition with the Sheriff's Department officially. And we got some folks here today that are going to tell us a little bit about themselves and their position there. And shout out to Cody Blossman, of course, Sheriff McNamara, and appreciate the whole staff and just everybody. And so, yeah, we're going to jump right into this on what you can expect. We're going to learn a little bit about a couple of these guys here that are here today, and we'll move forward. So, without further ado, man, could y'all introduce yourselves and y'all's position, and we'll keep it going?
Absolutely. Chris Evans, been working in the sheriff's office for about 15 years, and I've kind of bounced around. I started at the jail back in 2009 and was at the captain at the jail for the last 2 years, and I've recently moved over to training and over training in SWAT and the fugitive unit. So that's kind of where I am now. And Marco and I have been working together since I started in 09.
Really?
And he started before me. So.
We kind of grew up together a little bit in the jail. And so I'm Lieutenant Marco Hinojos. I work for the sheriff's office. Been there for about 17 years. I run the programs there, our reintegration program. I work programs with the veterans. We do a Christian-based program with our female population.
Okay.
I also deal with our special needs group in the jail, like our special population, which is our mental health inmates. Just kind of get them through that process of jail. We work on discharge plans for them to make sure that they get somewhere safe and they're taken care of when they leave our facility.
Yeah. Well, you know, thank y'all for introducing yourselves to our community of folks out here. We appreciate y'all for being here today. Man, I'm just telling you, I'm super pumped. I'm super excited. We've had some behind-the-scenes conversation, you know, with Cody and all of us, and man, a lot of great things to look forward for up ahead. But let's continue this. So, you know, oftentimes I'm able to interview folks from the community. Part of that community is the police department here in Waco, Texas. And oftentimes, you know, I'm a local pastor. I find I can relate a lot to it, is that when people ask me, like, you're a pastor? Yeah. Did you know you're going to be a pastor? Like, no, I didn't realize I was going to be a pastor. I'm glad I am. It's great. I love what I do. But if you would have asked me years ago, over 20 years ago, if I was going to be where I'm at now, I would say no. So when I talk to law enforcement, the police department, a lot of times they say the same thing. Of course, some people aim for it, but a lot of people, you know, I never knew I was going to be in the position I'm doing. How does that unpack with you guys? It's the first time we got the Sheriff's Department on here, folks from the Sheriff's Department.
Yeah.
Could y'all, in any order, just kind of speak to that? Y'all growing up, how was that? Where, you know, what was that like? And then where does the Sheriff's Department come into play for y'all?
Sure. I'll start off.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so for me, I never wanted to be a cop. I never wanted to be law enforcement. I grew up playing G.I. Joes, and I wanted to be in the military. That's all I wanted to do. Me and my brother, we had this plan. You know, he was going to go to the military. I was going to go to the military. Things didn't work out quite the way I wanted it to work out. So when I got out of the military, I stayed here in Texas and worked for a call center for about 3 years, and realized straight out of the military, sitting behind a desk, answering phone calls for an insurance company just wasn't my thing, right? So there was an ad in the paper for a correctional officer with the sheriff's office, and I said, well, that's paramilitary. You know, they follow some of the same structure as the military does, and I applied for it, and it took a little while to get hired on. And once I finally got on, I realized, you know, how much I loved working for law enforcement, and just realizing over the years that I have a passion for it, and you have a heart for it, and you just want to help people, and you kind of learn that through corrections, and that's how I ended up working for the sheriff's office.
Wow. All right.
Yeah. His, you know, my path's a little bit different, and once again, I didn't plan on being a sheriff or police officer at all, and so for me, it kind of started. You know, growing up, I spent my summers and my off time playing sports, and so when I went to college, I went to play baseball, and so I just had a big just a passion for competing and things like that. So I started playing a lot of softball after college and traveling, and I met a couple guys I have a longtime buddy that's a cop, and had a couple buddies that were cops, and so we traveled and played softball, and I had a couple guys like, man, we're hiring over at the sheriff's office, and I was kind of in between jobs. I was like, I never wanted to be a cop, because I'd had some bad experiences with cops as a younger kid, and just didn't interest me at all. I wanted to go coach and teach, and that's what I wanted to do. And so anyways, I had a buddy of mine that's really a mutual buddy that kind of recruited me to the sheriff's office, and man, I fell in love with it, and it grew on me, and just started getting more interested in the culture in the jail. I come from a small town, so the culture was different in the jail, and so I just kind of started to learn it, and it piqued my interest. And so anyways, that's kind of how it started. I had a couple buddies that were cops, and they kind of lured me in, and man, that's how it started for me. And I just fell in love with it. And you meet all the people, and you work with these people, and of course you start working with Waco PD and meeting these guys and DPS, and you start meeting a lot of people that you just have some common interest with, and it kind of grows as a family, and so I consider them my second family. The guys that I've worked with over the years, still have good relationships, and these guys have all spread out. They either were in the jail or they were on the streets at Waco PD. I met a lot of street crimes guys that got me interested in wanting to go to the streets. Yeah. And now they've all ventured off, and they've either grown in their department and become supervisors or whatever, but keep in contact with them, and now we just we serve the community in a different way. Rather than the front line. We're just trying to guide people in law enforcement, train them up better, and give them the tools to be successful, and just kind of blend with the community to help the communities out. So
that's good. Now, thanks for sharing. So I got two questions based on what I just shared. I'm gonna start back with you, and I'm gonna come back to you. So G.I. Joes, man.
Yeah, G.I. Joes. Yeah.
That's my era. So who was your favorite G.I. Joe? Do you remember?
Man, so I liked Cobra Commander. I liked him, and then I liked who was the one with the K9? I can't remember his name.
And I can't remember.
But I used to play with them all the time. But I probably had about 20 or 30 of them. They're probably buried in my backyard back in Florida somewhere. Growing up, that's what we used to do with them. But G.I. Joe, man, I love G.I. Joe.
They would have the Snake Eyes, and I like the Ninja guys. So there was like a Snake Eyes who was all dark, and then the other one was in all white. Storm or Shadow or something.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Anyway, but man, I used to love playing with them G.I. Joes, man. The regular G.I. Joe guy.
Well, see, it wasn't just G.I. Joe. We did the Army Men too. The little green Army Men, the ones that were posed in certain different positions or whatever.
That's right.
Yeah, those are probably all buried too in that yard somewhere, man. I'm telling you, we had hundreds and hundreds of just the Army Men and the G.I. Joes. We played with those a lot. And, of course, back then, any stick was a gun.
Of course.
We used to run around with sticks until we got a little bit older to get some BB guns. And I don't know if we can say this, but we used to play those one pump BB game where you shoot each other, but you can only pump it one time. Don't get any more than one pump. Just any more than one pump, you're gonna hurt somebody. So we were stupid, man.
No, that's awesome because y'all were in Florida and we were doing the same thing in Texas.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's some guys on there that can relate. I mean, we got to that quick. We got to the BB guns. We took it a little bit further, though. We had the CO2 cartridges. Yeah. But then what we would do is we'd wear them BMX bike shields, like for your face, and then we'd wear helmets, and then we'd have all kind of pillows.
Oh, you have protection?
Yeah.
Wow.
And so
we're a little bit smarter in Texas.
Yeah, a little bit smarter. Texas a little bit smarter in Florida.
Well, because we were using CO2 cartridges and stuff.
Yeah.
And so we'd have these wars, and it would rain. We'd get all the people from the block, and we'd have these. Anyway, I can relate. Yeah. That was back in the days.
Oh yeah,
it was cool. But anyway,
you can't do that too much now.
Yeah. But anyway, thanks for answering that question about the G.I. Joes. A shout out to all the G.I. Joe folks that grew up playing G.I. Joes or the little Army Men. For you younger ones, you can't relate. I understand. This is just for the older ones. But now to you, a question. Tell us about the. Your experience you shared was not a comfortable one, a good one at first, right? So tell us about that.
Yeah, so, just like any teenage kid, we were knuckleheads driving around too fast around town. And like I said, I'm from a small town, so we had our little strip, our little drag that we drove. And you know, and the guys, you know, they just like to pick on us a little bit. I guess you could say the cops would pull us over, and they, you know, there were no warnings. We didn't get warnings.
Oh yeah.
They were writing us tickets left and right, and they were always searching our vehicles, like.
Yeah.
And so it was just all the experiences I had with cops were just not positive, you know, and there was no like teaching us, right? There was no time spent with us on, hey, let's not do these things. These are the reasons why we shouldn't be driving fast, or, you know, pulling out of the parking lots, and, you know, all this, you know, the stuff that kids do, right?
Sure.
And so it was very consistent whenever I was in high school. And then even when I went to college, the campus cops at Tarleton were pretty hard on us too. They were looking for kids to jam up all the time, and so, like I said, it just wasn't positive experiences. And really, when I started playing ball and traveling with my buddy, he's in Ellis County now. He's still a deputy sheriff there, and I would just ride out with him. He's like, man, come, I'll show you what being a cop is about. Like, you know, we can have some positive experiences with people and show you what being a cop is really like. So, you know, kind of on a bigger scale, Ellis County, just not something I was used to, kind of the big city for me, I guess, at the time.
Okay.
Rode around with him and showed me a lot of things and how he interacted with people and the cases that he worked and stuff like that. And I was like, man, you know, it's actually pretty cool. I've never seen that side of it. So anyways, it started, and then when I actually got into the jail, started working there, you can see there is sometimes a divide, right?
Okay.
The good guys and the bad guys. And I tried not to ever be that guy, right? You just, you know, I grew up like these guys. You know, luckily I was steered in the right direction and had some guidance. But, you know, these guys, they just grew up the way we did, you know. They just could never turn it back the right way. And so they're people too. And, you know, that's how we treat them at the jail. They're humans. They just made some mistakes, and we're trying to get them back on track. And that's what Marco does with the programs. He's taking candidates all the time to get in these programs and got them in the right direction so that we can get them out in the public and be a part of society, a productive part of society, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with Chris. Like, a lot of those guys just are misdirected. You know, sometimes they were in the wrong place at the wrong time, and even some of these guys did what they did. I mean, they're doing their time. We got to help these guys out, right? So that's part of what these programs do, is we try to get them back on track, get them with the right mindset, give them the tools that they need, kind of help them out once they leave here. So kind of give them a jump start in the jail all over again. Because a lot of these guys, when they go into jail, it's almost, we're done. Like, I'm done. I don't want to go any further. I don't want to do anything else. But a lot of these guys, they want to strive, and they want to move forward with their life. So I got to take both of those people, right? I got to take both of those guys and kind of help them out, because jail's not the end all. I mean, there's so many more things out there for these guys and these girls, and that's what we hope to do. We strive to help these people get a better understanding of what there is to come once they leave here, what positive is out there. And, you know, you don't have to wait until you get out. We have those sources and those resources inside the jail. And we're always ready to help whoever wants that help, but they've got to want it too. That's a different.
I think something that I want to just kind of reemphasize some of this, but what Marco does is try to, you know, this program try to set them up for success when they do leave. But that's giving them a support system with, you know, we have churches and we have volunteers that come into the jail and help teach and help guide these people. But they have contacts when they leave. So when things get hard, or, you know, they kind of hit that dead end and they don't have anywhere to go, they can reach out to these resources to kind of help them, or help them get housing and, you know, just even eat sometimes, you know. So that's the good part about these programs and what we're trying to do at the jail. And we want to grow it and, you know, make it more successful. But I think giving people that support system when they do leave to be set up for success, because you know how you see guys that they leave the jail and they'll tell you, like, I have nowhere to go. You know, I'm not from here, you know, or whatever. They just got picked up here. And so it's not advantageous when they leave the jail sometimes. So we're always trying to help them get in the right direction.
And sometimes it just starts with somebody who's actually paying a little bit more attention to them. And actually, a lot of people don't know that these programs are offered in the jail, that there are things that we can do to help you out. People just think that's a place where you go, you sit your time out, and then go to court, and then you go home. Nobody understands some of the networking that goes on inside the jail, inside those four walls. And they're done in a classroom setting. We've got We've got 2 reintegration programs that are going on right now. One is our 101 program,
Okay.
and we have about 8 male inmates in that program and 8 female inmates in that program. And then we have 16 males in the full program. It's a 12-week program.
Mm.
And then we got 16 females in the female program as well. And they go through the curriculum. We have what are called QMHPs. They come in and they help teach. Their peer support. They come in and they teach the curriculum. And they don't just stop there in the classroom. They actually keep in contact with them outside of the jail. They can make phone calls to them. These people are actually working for them once they get out or while they're still in there. So they're looking for these resources for them, these sober living houses, getting them connected with some money for a bus ticket, getting them connected for some money for some groceries, maybe pay your first month's rent somewhere. So there's tons of resources out there for these people. And the point I was trying to make at the very beginning, I got a little off track there, was just showing them and letting them know that there are people inside those 4 walls that care.
Yeah.
And that are actually there to help you makes a huge difference for some of these people. And that kind of starts that different direction for them where they start saying, okay, this isn't just the place where I'm going to sit and rot until I get out of here. This is actually, I've actually got options. I've got choices. And I've got people who are actually willing and wanting to help me. And I think that goes a long way for some of these people.
Yeah, for sure, man. Thanks for all that you do and all that y'all do. Chris, what's your function there?
So I've recently moved from being the jail captain over to being the captain over SWAT training. I actually have the SRO program, our school resource officer. We have one of those right now.
Okay.
And then over the fugitive unit. So,
Okay.
So what our primary focus, we've kind of started over with training, and I've got my own ideas, and I've kind of got my guys feeding me information. But part of it's me learning. I've never been over this program before, but learning the things that we're mandated to do by the state of Texas, right, with our licenses and all those things, and staying on top of that. But then, we have to go through recertifications with either our firearms or, all the tools that we use. So you have to do that yearly. And then we're really pushing on jail training. We want to expand that. We've been deficient in our jail training. And it's funny because I was talking to a jail school today, and it's brand new employees that just started with us, and we have a deputy. It's one of our MHMR deputies who helps with our mental health patients around the community, and he's teaching a class for our jail school right now. And so something I told him, I was like, hey, you have all this, you're going to get all this instruction through our jail school, and there's tests and there's laws and there's rules and stuff that you got to learn so that you can pass the test and get your certification to be a licensed jailer for us. But something that our deputy's teaching right now, he has a 3-day mental health course where he covers things that it's not really taught anywhere. You just kind of learn how to do it, right? Or you start picking up some classes from our QMHPs and the people that are around. But that's just a big part of what we do now is mental health. We have a lot of mental health patients in the jail that aren't necessarily criminals. They've there's some kind of criminal act that's gotten them there.
Sure.
But a lot of these people, they just need help and they need resources. So anyways, with all that being said, I'm trying to give our jailers more tools and resources through training to help develop them to do their job a little bit easier and kind of close the gap with kind of the problem we have in our community. And I think Waco PD and DPS and Belmead and Lacey Lakeview, all these agencies can tell you we have a huge problem with mental health in our area, and it's across the state of Texas. It's not just us, but we're trying to close the gap on finding resources and giving people the training that it takes to be able to deal with these people, and how do we release them from jail? How do we take care of them in jail when they are in jail? So we are really focused on training. Once again, I've got the SWAT team, so we're always training with those guys. Our fugitive guys are training, whether it be with us or with the U.S. Marshals. They're part of the Marshals Task Force, so they get plenty of training. So we're really trying to focus on our jail, which is where we just haven't been real strong with our training. And so we're gonna really grow that. We've got some really good ideas, and then I've got a lot of really good instructors that that have a lot of life experience and experience in the jails and out on patrol and in the community, that they're going to be able to give us a lot of good stuff to help our people grow and develop.
Yeah, that'll go over well with our veteran officers who are also our instructors. Obviously, we have the material, we have the curriculum, and we can teach that to our people.
Right.
But you always want those life experiences. You want those people who have been doing the job for several years and can speak to what they're actually teaching.
Right.
And Chris has got just a number of instructors. The county, the sheriff's office just has a number of veteran instructors who have lived this life for so many years and can speak to what they're teaching these guys. And that goes a long way for people that are coming up. I wanted to tell you guys that QMHP, because we didn't specify what it is.
Yeah.
So QMHP is a qualified mental health professional. And we didn't always have those in the jail. When we started, we didn't have a QMHP, or they weren't defined as QMHPs. We might have had maybe one person that was a qualified, quote unquote, mental health professional who was working in the facility at the time. And it's grown so much in the 17 years that I've been there. We now have anywhere between 4 to 6 QMHPs in the facility at one time, just with their caseload, going around talking to our inmates who they call patients in the jail, and they talk to them, they build those cases with them. But yeah, like QMHP, qualified mental health professional.
Yeah, I was going to ask that. Thanks for clarifying that. So, man, let's talk about, because as we dive into the jail part, right? That's with all the engagements that go on. That's a part of the sheriff's department. A lot of that lands into I like how you've said it before, but I want you to get into it. The community that you now have.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Right? Right? Because if you're talking about the task force, if you're talking about patrol, if you're talking about, as far as having to enforce the law, and then remind me a little bit, I want to talk about the other things that's done with sheriff's department is out in the community that others may not know about. But let's stick with the law enforcement side of it.
Okay.
So when you have to go out there and do your job as a sheriff's department, you have to enforce the law. A lot of the times that creates a community, right? So can you talk about the community?
Sure. I don't know how long ago it was that I adopted that idea of a jail being a community, because I mean that's basically what it is. A jail is a tiny community.
Yeah.
We have everything in that tiny community that helps it be self-sufficient, kind of like the town that we live in. We have doctors, we have dentists, we have jobs that these people go to every day. We have school or classes that these people go to every day. There's just so many things that are so community-esque, like in this tiny community that we run, and we run it, and we have to make sure that it keeps running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Some people didn't know that we have nursing staff there 24/7. They think that nursing staff is just there during the day, and it's not true. We have staff there, medical staff, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So we're pretty self-sufficient on what we have to do. We don't leave the facility with our inmates very often. We take care of what they need taken care of. We take care of if they have dentist appointments, we're doing
all in-house.
All in-house. Now there's going to be certain times when there's specialists that they have to go see that we can't necessarily have them come to the jail because we just won't have the tools for that.
Right.
So we'll do those transports for them and we'll take them off site. But for the most part, we handle all of our own investigations. We have our own cops, which we are cops. Everybody there is basically law enforcement. But we have our own investigators for the jail. They come in and they'll investigate some of the crimes that happen, because even though they're in jail, crimes do still happen inside the jail. Within the jail. So it's just like a community, and we have to do our due diligence and do the investigation portion. And we have to find the victim if there's a victim, and we have to find the person who's responsible for that action. It's just like a community.
So you have a crime, for instance, there's been, I don't know if you say allegedly, I don't know, but you got something that's happened out in the community that's required some level of policing. And then now they're in there because they've either done something or been accused of doing something. And so now they're in the community of the jail.
Pretrial custody, basically.
Okay, thank you. And so, but then if something happens then inside there, then that's a whole nother ball game and
Right.
within the new community they're in at the moment,
Right.
for however long they're in there.
Right.
So now that requires an investigation for that should something happen.
Exactly.
And it's like you were saying, you got your own little city or community or.
Everybody has they play their part. Everybody
So
has their
before
own
we go into the
responsibility.
details, because I want to get into all the details,
Yeah.
so the folks that aren't here watching can know. Because I'll just be honest with you. First of all, as far as history, when did it change, or was there a time where, okay, you go to jail, you go in there, and you're going to sit your butt down, you're going to do some time till we figure out the court system, and you're just
Sure.
going to sit there. Was there a time where that happened? And if so, when did it transition to where there's all this more of these different elements to it?
So I can't pinpoint an exact time
Right.
in history when that exactly happened. I think jail has evolved,
Okay.
and it evolves constantly. It's a constant evolution of jail.
Okay.
So if you think about jail, a long time ago, you get thrown in the slammer, they close the doors behind you, and then you wait. The sheriff either lets you out, or you go to court, or there's something else that happens to you because of the crime that you committed. Right? There's nothing in between.
Yeah.
Whereas over time, we have learned that maybe we don't need to focus on necessarily keeping people in jail, but working on keeping them out of jail, and work on those people and making that clear to them from the time they come in. So it's evolved to that, where I don't want you in jail. If I could be without a job, I would love to be without a job right now. I don't want to. If we could shut our jails down, but unfortunately, that's never going to happen.
Right.
But so I think it's evolved to the point where we're more focused on reducing recidivism,
Okay.
reducing people who come into the jail and just see the jail doors as a revolving door for them. They just come in, do their couple days, and then they leave. We're trying to stop that.
Yeah, and so think about it. Like the one thing that the sheriff has to do, right, in the state of Texas, is he has to run the jail.
Okay.
There's no way around that, right? They are mandated to run the jail. So we know we have to do it, but every person that comes into the jail, it costs the taxpayers money, right? So we take care of all these people. Every time they see the dentist, it costs money. Every time they see the doctor, it costs money. We have, we feed these inmates. I was pulling some notes today and looking at kind of our inmate population, because it changes from day to day, and
Right.
we've got 1,380 inmates
Okay.
today. So
Right
if you
now.
think about it right
In
now.
McLennan County Jail.
Unless somebody got thrown in there while we've been talking. But
Yeah, so
Right.
it's changed.
Sure.
So we probably let a few out and had a few come in, and so
Okay.
it kind of changes by the
Sure.
hour. But if you think about it, they get 3 meals a day. That's 4,137 meals that we're serving today. That's
Wait,
taxpayer.
say that again?
4,137 meals at 1,379 inmates, right?
That
So
was served just today.
just today. So that's taxpayer money, right? Think about doctor's calls, right? We're doing 30 to 40 doctor calls per day, right? So we have all these people that need to go see the doctor for some reason or another, and then you've got the pills that they take, our daily medication. That's taxpayer money. That's taxpayer money. Last night I was talking to one of our nursing staff, and we were just having a separate meeting about other things, and asked a couple questions, and I said, how many pills do we pass on the daily, right? If you had to average it,
He said,
it was just
"Today?"
like, today, or, what? And I said, okay, well, just give me what you know right now. He said, I'll tell you this. Last night at both facilities, 2,000 pills were passed.
Distributed by our medical staff.
2,000.
2,000 pills based on whatever medical condition they have, right? So I asked him, I said, wow, that's nowhere near what I thought it was. I've never counted the pills. I've never paid that much attention in detail as to, what we were doing for these inmates, but that's all taxpayer money. So I asked him, what does it cost the county for, and you can get into a bunch of different things.
Sure.
And he said, well, I'll tell you this, our pharmacy bill for the county last month was $100,000. That is
Wait,
taxpayer
are you talking
money.
about the county jail?
This was the
Yes.
expense that was
For the population of the folks that are.
right.
For the pharmacy. That's
For-
just the
So
pills.
you
that
have
we
your own
buy.
pharmacy?
No, we have to.
We
have to-
use
outsource
we use
it
out,
to-
yeah, we
okay.
outsource our pharmacy.
Okay.
So that's what the county paid to
Did you
get
say
these.
Thou wow.
of taxpayers' money.
Yeah. So it's a lot of money to keep people in jail, right? And like I've told you before, the guys who have committed these crimes that are causing issues in the community, danger to the public, we want those guys to be in jail. We want to protect the community.
Yeah.
But the people that don't really need to be in jail, they need other resources, our mental health patients and stuff like that. We're trying to help them get to another path because it's costing taxpayers money. That's what it's doing. And we aren't the best resources.
I was just about to
for
say
them.
that, but on the same token, jail is not, and this will stem a whole branch of conversation.
I'm sure.
in the
I'm sure.
future. But you know what Chris was saying is, you know, we are trying our hardest to be a mental health facility as a jail. We are a jail, but where do these people end up? If you have a problem with somebody at McDonald's who's not leaving, and it's not because they're committing a crime, it's just because their mental cognizance isn't there.
Okay.
And so what do you do with this person? Where do you take them? We don't have all those resources in the community, so what ends up happening is they end up coming to jail. So who interacts with these guys when they get brought to jail? Jailers do. Our jailers are the first ones who talk to these guys, who are interacting with these guys. And I can tell you right now, up until about a few years ago, they weren't being trained fully as mental health professionals. They are qualified mental health professionals. They were being trained as jailers. So, you know, you got all these people coming in, and we're doing the best that we can to try to keep up with the times and
Yeah.
not only keep the people who are coming in with these mental illnesses safe, but also keep our staff safe too. You know, we have to look at it both ways. We have to
So
take,
think about this, right? We have people on our staff, qualified mental health professionals, that go to school to get a bachelor's degree. Some of them get master's degrees, right? And they come to our jail, and this job is difficult for them. We are hiring 18, 19, 20, 21, 25-year-old people that don't have that background and don't have those certifications to be mental health professionals every day because they just have to deal with these inmates
Every
in the
day.
jail or these patients in the jail. So you think about the gap, you know, in the education between our qualified mental health professionals who, you know, are there about half the day, you know, and then they don't come back until the next morning. So at night, our guys are having to figure it out. They're being qualified just by working with these people every day, and they're getting better at it, and they're getting better at it. And of course, you know, we have our own resources inside the jail, trying to get them to a better place to be able to handle some of these problems. But if you think about that, we are hiring, you know, 5 people who do have these certifications and have spent years to get the education, and then we're hiring our jailers
at 18.
that are having to figure out how to be a mental health professional kind of on the fly.
So you know, there are guys in there who have been lifetime criminals. They've done this their entire life. And then you've got an 18-year-old who's supposed to tell me what to do, direct me on how to do things.
Okay.
You know, so and on top of that, you got your lifetime people who know how to manipulate people, and you've got this 18-year-old who's supposed to be guiding them and directing them and care for these people and try to figure out what's right and how to take care of you.
Yeah,
You know, how does that work out? And it's very tricky, and your training has to be on point.
Yeah.
When we're teaching these guys about all the different games that these guys play, we have to make them very aware. We're very upfront in training when we talk to these guys and we give them, you know, our life stories of what's happened in the jail. We're very upfront about. We want to be very transparent with these guys because we don't want them to come around the corner and just be hit in the face with issues with all these guys, you know, throwing stuff at them. We want to prepare them as much as possible.
And you were using that as a metaphor, but I was saying even technically being hit.
Sure.
Even
Yeah,
Oh my
and
God.
physically being hit.
And a lot of it, I mean, not that our officers get assaulted, you know, very often. They don't, but at times they do. And to be honest with you, a lot of it's our mental health patients because they just don't know what's going on. You know, they're just not all there. They need medication. They need just more one-on-one support. Yeah, they need help, and it's hard to provide that to as many patients as we have. So it's difficult. It's difficult for the guys on the streets to deal with it because they don't really have any place to go. They go to the hospital. They'll do what we call an EDO, emergency detention order, to where they kind of legally detain this person to be evaluated or examined by a psychiatrist, right? And then the psychiatrist says, no, he's good to go. And then he kicks him out the door. And then all of a sudden, he's at Dave & Buster's, just walks in, dumps trash can on the table and just starts eating out of the trash can. And so the patrons at the restaurant are like, hey, wait, we can't have our kids around this.
Just a cycle.
And so they go to jail now because the hospital won't take them.
So talking about that, so usually is the Waco PD or the local police station, depending on where they're at,
It's a great question.
get called in first, or is it the sheriff's department?
Yeah, so
how does that work?
That kind of is based on dispatch and kind of the jurisdiction, right? So
Okay.
there are, I guess, some lines drawn
Okay.
kind of on a map to say, like, hey, it's in the Waco, what we call the city limits, or
Okay.
it's in Waco's jurisdiction. So Waco will respond to that.
Okay.
It's outside the Waco jurisdiction. It may be like there's that line of, hey, this person's crossed over from Waco to Belmead, and now Belmead may deal with it, right? Or it ends up out in the county where the sheriff's office is responsible for it. So
when you say in the county, that's usually in rural areas. Am I right about that?
Yeah.
correct.
Okay. And
So I will say this: Waco PD probably encounters the most amount
of the mental health.
mental health because I mean, look at the population,
Okay.
right? The population is going to be in the city of Waco, but then
So-
Belmead and Lacey Lakeview, they'll say, hey, pound for pound, we've got our issues too.
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah.
No, yeah. And so I'm excited about the future because there's some things we've been talking about and ideas on this even more. But for now, let's take people really quick through so they can understand the process. So we got, like you said, a scenario, let's just say McDonald's restaurant, wherever you're at, right?
Okay.
And let's say that scenario, like what you're saying, the person's throwing and they're kind of scaring people because they're acting a little,
It's a little different.
and it's startling some people that ain't used to that. And so the police get called out, right? Let's just say it's Waco PD, when city limits. And so they have to engage with that and figure out, okay, can you leave the premises, or wait a minute, we got to take them to the hospital or clinic or somewhere, right? So it's the police. Walk us through that, how that works before they get to the
So I know,
jail.
I was going to say, Chris can probably speak on that a little bit better than I can.
They're going to do everything they can to kind of solve the problem right there, kind of on the roadway.
Okay.
So if they've got a place, and obviously I think Chief Victorian and her officers can speak to this, but just kind of what I've seen with them and kind of what we do is we're going to try to solve it right there. So if we can get this person a ride, or we can get them to a shelter or something like that, then we'll try to do those things, right? Do you have a grandmother, or do you have a brother or somebody we can get you to, so that they have somebody that can kind of take care of them, right? Because it's we don't want them to run the streets and they kind of don't know where they're at and what they're doing, get hit by a car, God forbid, and so we're going to try to find places for them to go. Now, if that doesn't happen, and these people get irritated, they're not on their medications, and I'll say they get a little feisty, and so sometimes you got to wrestle them kind of in the car, really just kind of for their own safety, so they don't get hurt out there or get taken advantage of or whatever. So they may EDO this person. If this person fits that threshold to take them to the hospital on an EDO, then they'll take them to the hospital to have them evaluated by a psychiatrist. And that's a very long process. It's not quick. You don't dump them off. So Waco PD officer grabs a guy that's could very well harm himself because he's walking down Highway 6 in the middle of traffic. Grab this guy, do an EDO, take him to the hospital, and those Waco officers have to sit on that guy until he's evaluated. That may take 12 hours. It may take 24 hours. It may take 36 hours. And so they're changing shifts, and new officers are coming on to sit on this guy until he's evaluated. And then, the frustrating part, in the hospitals, they've kind of got their things that they have to deal with, right?
Yeah.
So the hospital's like, hey, the psychiatrist said he's good, and, he's not going to harm himself, and, says all the right things, and so they have to release him. And so they'll try to give him a ride home or to a place that someone can take care of him. And then it never fails, and these Waco guys can tell you this, and I know our county guys can tell you this. They'll walk out in the middle of the street again, or they end up at a convenience store that
Or they'll end
leave.
up doing something that they have to be arrested for.
Yeah, so they won't leave a convenience store, so they want them criminally trespassed. Well, that person refuses to leave, so they're going to have to arrest them on a criminal trespass because they refuse to leave, and then that's when that cycle starts. They go to
When they
jail,
end up in the jail.
and then the DA's office a lot of times is not going to prosecute these people because they're not of sound mind and kind of don't know what they're doing, and they're off their medications, and this person's not going to be able to stay in trial. They're not going to be able to. Or they're not going to. So they get released again, and that's where Marco and his officers and his people come up with a plan to try to set these people up for success, to get them to a facility somewhere. But a lot of these facilities, they just won't take these patients because they don't have insurance.
Okay.
Well, when you're homeless and you've got substance abuse issues and you've got home life issues and you've got all these things, these people aren't keeping jobs. So how are they going to have insurance?
Yeah.
So it's just kind of a broken system that we're all working together to try to
Trying to
solve the best
figure
we
it out.
can.
We're
yeah.
just kind of at the mercy of those systems where we just can't. And Chris hit on something there with the insurance. Is you tend to see the people who have insurance move to the front of the line.
Yeah.
They get that help that they need. And it's a sad thing. It's sad to hear, and it's sad to see that these people aren't getting the help that they need because they don't have insurance. But when they come to jail, we manage and we take care of these guys the best that we can, and we get them to the places that they need to go. So we do. We have a very good team who does that. We have our discharge coordinator, which, by the way, I'll shout out to our discharge coordinator, Jennifer Williams. She's new to the county, and
Hold on, we got to give a.
Yeah. Much deserved.
Much deserved. Yeah, she's come in, and I will tell you, this is a new position for McLennan County Jail. We've never had a discharge coordinator, and what that does is she deals with a very sensitive population group within the facility, which is going to be our mental health inmates, the people who have these mental illnesses, or are just at a point in their life where they're just not getting any assistance from anybody, and they don't necessarily have a full-blown mental illness, or they don't have a mental illness. They just need that little bit of extra assistance. She's come in and has built this program from the ground up, and I can tell you she has moved mountains for some of these people. The caseload that she took on, it's just amazing the work that she's doing, and she's making these contacts with the people in the community. So we talk about some of the things earlier about what we're seeing coming into jail. Well, how do we take care of those people? Well, that discharge coordinator is very important to us and very vital, not just to the jail, but to our community as well, and for our folks on the ground, law enforcement, Waco PD, Lacey Lakeview. If we are giving these guys a fighting chance when they leave our facility, the percentage or whatever that percentage is of them coming back is a little bit lower, right? So they're not coming back as quickly, and maybe even not coming back at all, because we're finding them the right connections. We're connecting them to the right people when they leave our facility, and it's very vital to the county. And she's doing a wonderful, marvelous job.
Well, and I can imagine. I was asking a question earlier about this thing evolving basically, where once upon a time, I'm sure. There was a time where you just, you get arrested, go to the county, go to jail, and you sit there and, feed you or whatever, just the basic stuff.
Yeah.
But it's gotten to a place in time where it becomes a whole lot more than that. Times change, and ideas are being thought of how to assess people, how to deal with people, how to best serve people. And as a result, you create new opportunities with coordinators and different things like that. Let's get back to that. The what the jail offers as what it has to offer as services, right? Because from being someone who once upon a time went and took some visits there, you really don't think about that stuff. It's almost all right, you get processed. You do whatever you do to get there, whether you did it or not, right? But you're in there, and at some point you go and they give you a little bag of food or something.
Yeah.
It depends on when the lunch or morning or whatever. If not, you get the the Johnny sack, right? And then,
Yeah.
and then at some point though, you go to this to get.
Hey, but man, them Johnny sacks sometimes hit. And
Shoot,
I
don't
think
know
we'll
about
disagree on that
I
one.
don't know about that, bro. We need y'all to chime in. Those of you who are looking. What's your experience? What has it been? But anyway, they might be. I don't know. We might get surprised. It might be somebody that said, "Man, they hidden."
Yeah.
Let me know. Let us know. But anyway, we get processed. You know, you get processed, and then you go into a tank or whatever you call it, and then at some point though, you got to go in for the medical deal, right? Or at least that was my experience. I don't know how it's done now.
Yeah.
But then you go into a medical area where
Evaluation.
they check you out and all that stuff. And so, but you never think about, so if you need pills, I mean, they just give it to you according to whatever's going
Right.
on. And I mean, there's a process for that. And
Yeah.
you don't just hand it out like candy. You know, there's but you know, me thinking, I you know, going through it, you never realize all those things that have to be considered for a person that becomes an inmate or just visiting there, unfortunately, that you guys have to do, right? And people out there that have never even been to the county jail in that sense have relatives, but you really don't think about like all the things, even now, like we've talked about it here not too long ago, and I was like, dude, I didn't realize all that went on at the jail. Like that's what I have to do. So let's continue, if we would, unpack for the community that are unaware of what's all being done there.
Well, I think one of the first things that we need to mention is we have a certain number of officers we have to staff.
Okay.
Depending on the number of inmates we have, and per the state, we have to have one officer for every 48 inmates.
Okay.
And we have to take that into account whenever we're staffing our shifts, when we're staffing our wings, when we're staffing our booking area. We have to take all of that into consideration. So we take that entire workload because first and foremost, safety of those inmates and their lives are in our hands. So we have to make sure that we're properly taking care of them, and we have to meet that number. But we also have to make sure that our staff is taken care of. So we have to staff those areas properly. And I think a lot of times people don't understand that it is a career, it is a job. We have certain requirements that we have to meet. So that 1 to 48 ratio.
Yeah, and then you break it down more when you know the booking area. There's a lot of movement up there. So when you come into the jail, and you know there's a lot of processes that happen up there that you know you got to have somebody take their property and put it up and secure it, right? And then they get put in jumpsuits so that we don't have any contraband end up in the jail. Once again, safety, security of the facility, whether it be the inmates or the jailers, it's just part of it. Then you go to medical, and then you go see the officer, and they kind of tell you, hey, this is what you've been arrested for, and this and that, and you want us to contact anybody, or you know who's your emergency contact, kind of get that information. But here's the thing that's happened too. So COVID. Okay?
Oh,
and so we're past COVID. But what happened with COVID is
it changed everything.
It changed everything, right? And so now we have the courts in our jail now. They run court. They run felony court.
We run court in our jail.
What?
Felony court is run in our jail. Misdemeanor court.
Hold on. Explain. Can you explain for the people who don't understand what that means?
You know, when they figured out in COVID that we could, you know, run Zoom and do these court
Virtual.
hearings over, you know, just over the internet, and we didn't have to come in contact with people to keep from spreading, you know, this.
Made it super convenient for some people.
Yeah, it made it convenient for some people, but once again, that it puts all that stress on the jail. So it made it difficult because not only do you have to have a certain amount of jailers per inmate, but now you start having to pull inmates into different areas to run these courts. And we need the court systems to run, you know, so that we can get people either to TDC to serve their sentences or to get them out of jail.
So they can go back to
so they
living
can
their
go
life.
back to living their life. And so we can't just keep them in there, and they can't just stay stagnant. We've got to keep moving. So when COVID happened, it pushed a lot of the courts to the jail, and the jail is not built to run courts. So we're just having to figure it out. So it's taken more officers to get that done. There's a lot more movement Monday through Friday, kind of that 8 to 5 time period. It is super busy at the booking desk. And so, you know, we do have officers complain whether it be our officers or other agencies, that the process to bring somebody to jail and for the officer to leave and get back on the streets takes a long time. But man, we just have so many things happening. So we're running courts. We're running courts in the jail.
Wow.
So when you're doing all that and the officer's trying to get in and out, and you've got 20 people up there, going to either be arraigned by the judge or going to a Zoom court or whatever.
And the streets don't stop.
And the streets don't stop. We don't stop those guys from coming in the facility.
We don't shut it down for another 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. We are open. Holidays,
And then
birthdays.
think about this. They wear our jail uniforms, right? We give them sheets and blankets and washcloths and towels and all this. Who washes all that?
Who washes it?
Remember, we're self-sufficient.
So we don't hire another company, right? We don't outsource that. We do that all in-house. So we have a couple of guys and gals that just use our trusty inmates in our work program, and they wash all the clothes and we redistribute them. That happens twice a week. We change our linens twice a week. So and a lot of these inmates, they're a little more particular, so they kind of wash them themselves in the sinks and stuff. But so somebody's got to do all those jobs. Something I didn't mention with the medical staff and that 24-hour service that they give at the jail. We talk about accessibility. One of our nurses brought this up today that they get in and out and see a doctor faster than you and I would going to our primary doctor. So we may have to wait. If we want to see our doctor, we have to wait 3 or 4 weeks to get in to get a doctor's appointment, right? These guys are getting them in pretty quick. And guess how much it cost them?
What?
$10. $10 to go see the doctor. I wish I was paying that. So once again, they do have a lot of, they've got access to these doctors and nurses, so they're getting the things that they need. They're getting the medication that they need. But we also we have physical therapy, people that come in to provide physical therapy for some of our inmates that need that. So, we provide a lot of things that people don't know about. So
we're making some of those appointments within 24 to 48 hours. Wow. How fast can you get an appointment?
It takes a while.
Yeah. I mean, with a community of 1,300 plus. That speaks volumes to how our jail staff runs that facility, right? We're able to get these inmates seen by our medical staff within a timely fashion. And I'm not talking 2-3 weeks. I'm talking within 48, 72 hours. We're getting these people seen by medical. And I wanted to go back and kind of talk on, it's kind of like the process of we were talking about earlier, what that looks like. When these people come into jail, there's a lot that has to be done from the initial point of contact with our jailers and these inmates that are coming in. They have to initiate the relationship with that person from the get-go out in the Sally Port. They have to talk to these people, and they may come in all hyped up on Mountain Dew, right? Like they just might be hyped up on drugs or whatever. They may be drunk, and our jailers have to go out there and they have to deal with that.
Right.
And they have to be able to de-escalate that situation and bring them into the facility. And sometimes that doesn't always happen, and it goes sideways, and our jailers are prepared to take that on. But from the get-go, they have to come in, and then we have to make sure that this person is who they say they are. The officers on the street, they do their due diligence, but sometimes stuff happens, and we still have to make sure. So we got to make sure that this person is who they say they are, and we do that by several different ways. We can either ID them, we can recognize them, we can do that with fingerprints. So sometimes we have to go to that extent to figure out who they are before we can even start the process.
Really?
And it doesn't always go that way, but that is something that has happened, and it'll continue to happen because people aren't always truthful. So,
well, what do you do if they're like undocumented, like off the radar at that point?
Well, that's a different process, but we'll fingerprint them, and most of the time, I'll say 98% of the time, we have some kind of documentation on them. We can figure out who they are, but when we don't have any documentation, we have nothing to kind of match them with. We'll normally call ICE, and ICE will deal with them, and they'll come out and do their interviews, and that's a whole other process that I really am not super familiar with.
They may be new to the legal system, and they just might be brand new, and we'll just treat them like anybody else who's brand new, and we'll initiate.
They're kind of starting it there,
right? We'll initiate that packet or whatever it is that we need to do, that identification.
And so we have some experts that can come in and talk to you about that. On,
Yeah.
That'd be
Yeah.
good.
on how that happens if
Yeah,
you
we're
know,
gonna make it happen.
somebody that's never been through our system, or they don't have ID, they've never had an ID, and we don't know who they are, and they don't have they've never been picked up by law enforcement. We don't have fingerprints. We don't have all these things, and kind of how we go through that process to figure out who they are. And so, I mean, pretty much I think everyone I've ever dealt with or seen kind of anything with that relates to that, we've been able to figure out who they are. Because to be honest with you, we can't hold them if we don't know who they are. They have to have some sort of identity, so we've got to figure something out. And so we may have to call other agencies and kind of go that route. But it does happen. We get there.
Wow. What's in y'all's career, being there doing this, what's an interesting story that you're able to share that comes to mind?
Man, that's a little bit dangerous question.
Yeah.
We've seen quite a bit. So just like any community, you have your own set of problems. You've got people who don't like each other, who are going to face off at some point. And you got to deal with that. And then you've got some people who are, in their mind, at the end of their wits' end, and they've got to take things in their own hands. And so you see that side of it, and then you see some people who completely turn their life around, and you never see them in jail again, and then you see them out on the street. So, there's so many different things that have happened, but man, just like specific stories.
Yeah, I think some of them they're kind of ugly. They're kind of and for me, it's kind of the first experience of seeing that. I'll remember that, but kind of along the way, you see it multiple times. You're like, oh, I've seen that before. But the way people try to conceal things is very interesting. I know there was an article at one time where a lady came in and concealed a weapon, so that was a big deal. I know that was hot around.
And people get very creative.
Yeah, so we've seen that. So we do our due diligence to check these people the best we can.
When they're coming in.
And we try to mitigate any contraband making it in the facility. But some of these people are really good at what they do, and so we normally find it later on. The problem is we're trying to keep other inmates from getting hurt, right? Or even jailers,
right?
So we don't want our staff or our inmates to get hurt, and so whether it be narcotics or some kind of weapon or whatever, we do a pretty good job of catching all that stuff at the front, and that has a lot to do with reading people, and our employees have a pretty good rapport, with our people that are kind of coming in all the time or just have been there quite a bit.
Can we talk on the rapport for just a second with our jailers?
Sure.
So, and that's another thing that I don't think a lot of people understand is our jailers are here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They've got their shifts.
Right.
But they build these relationships with these inmates, and that's what goes a long way.
They're doing time with them. And you build a lot of respect. I know Chris is really, really good at just getting past all the BS and getting to the humanization part of it. And and the way that he goes in and he talks to these guys, it's just like me and you, just one-on-one. And you've kind of got to learn that in the very beginning as a jailer. If you don't learn that pretty quickly, you're going to be taught that by the inmates who are there. They know over time who they can go to, who they can talk to, who's going to solve their problems, who's going to take care of the situation, who has pull, who doesn't have pull. And they're going to realize who the jailers are that are timid, and again, going back to training, we make this very transparent to them. We tell all these jailers, but the rapport that these guys build makes their job go so much easier. Okay.
And of course, we have those jailers, we have those officers who sometimes don't understand it and get it fast enough, and it doesn't go well for them. The respect side from the inmates, they're being MF every day.
Really?
When you get lied to enough, you start to figure it out, right? That's why I tell my kids, hey, bro, don't ever don't ever try. I've been lied to by the best,
Yeah.
on a daily basis. So, and so, we get very real with them. And when they start to see that, I'm going to lose respect for you because you just can't be honest with me and we can't solve this problem together, they usually come around, and now where it becomes difficult is, your mental health, patients. It's a little more difficult to kind of level with them. And then you have your master manipulators that
Okay.
they're, they're really good at what they do. And, so
okay, I'm glad you went there because so there's those that clearly you're able to look at and then get them diagnosed or whatever. Just you can gauge it too and be like,
Right.
okay, this person has some mental health issues.
Yep.
And then there's people that they don't necessarily have mental health issues. They're trying to get over and they're masters at getting over on people.
Yeah.
And so when you tell us about that, what is how difficult has that been in your experience with those that are masters at it?
Well, we used to have a guy in jail, and we were doing a favor to another county. I'm not going to say his name, but he was a very tall guy.
yeah.
And he was really good at what he did. And the reason we were doing a favor for this other county is because of how good he was. He manipulated another officer or an officer to let him out at the same time as a female inmate. And he was so manipulative that he was getting officers to do errands for him, do things that they weren't supposed to. So we did a favor for this county. We're watching him, and I can tell you how good he was. Where he was in our segregation hallway, it's this very long hallway, and it's just got cells on the left side and the right side.
Okay.
Just like a movie, right? All the way up and down. And his cell was a little bit further down in the hallway, and then there was a couple more cells, and then we have the gym, and then we have our back door to the segregation unit.
Okay.
He was so good at manipulation and understanding officers, and they have nothing but time on their hands. As soon as you open that door and you took 2 steps, he would say, "That's Lieutenant Hinojos walking in. That's Captain Evans." Before he even saw you, you took 2 or 3 steps. He knew just by your walk who you were. And that was that was another cool story I was going to bring up earlier. Like some of the things that you see, this guy was, when you looked into his cell, his head he had to duck down to look at you through the window. And very intimidating, if you didn't know this guy, but he had nothing but time on his hands, and he was really good. He had the gift of gab, and he could talk to you and talk you into anything if you didn't sit back and just listen and say, "Hey, wait a minute. I know what you're doing."
Yeah.
And it's not going to work on me.
Wow.
But yeah, you'd have to check yourself a little bit sometimes because people are just good at what they do sometimes.
So a question now, I'm curious because I don't know, so I'm kind of curious about it. So I remember talking with Chief Victorian, and she brought up something that I didn't realize existed. And she was talking about in her time with all the different things that she did in policing, that one of them was, IED. I don't know if I said that right, but it's where they investigate their own folks. So she had to be on that department where she had to do investigations on people that were in police to see if they were complying and doing what they're supposed to be doing or not. Do y'all have something similar
okay.
like
Internal
that?
investigation.
Internal
department.
investigations.
There you go.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah. So yeah. I mean, we have a process for that.
Okay.
We do, and with the jail, when I grew up, kind of with Marco in the jail, coming up, we had some cameras in the jail, but not like we do now.
Oh, really?
The cameras are really good. They're really good. I mean, you can see clearly.
Okay.
In most of them, there's some older cameras that we're obviously trying to change out,
Processing out. And so,
yeah. But yeah, so I mean, we see virtually everything that our jailers do and our inmates do, and
Okay.
it helps with investigations as far as like assaultive or crime, inmates, crimes that are occurring in the cells and stuff like that. But yeah, if our officers, if it happens at the jail, we catch it. But yeah, we have a process in which we're able to investigate our own officers. And that does happen, unfortunately, from time to time.
And we hold them accountable.
We have to hold our people accountable, and the public expects us to, be a certain way and act a certain way. And we follow the law just like anybody else,
Yeah.
We're not any different than any other citizen. And then, of course, we have rules and policies that we have to abide by, and those
Yeah.
are put in place for a reason. So, yeah, we have a way to deal with that. We don't necessarily have an internal affairs,
Okay.
I guess, labeled that way. But, yeah, we do have a process for that.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And then for the people that don't know, I didn't realize. I know you were saying all these different stipulations, and I mean, you're up under. Is that federal? Is that state, or is that?
So a lot of different agencies, right? So we're
as far as what y'all held accountable to,
yeah.
like
So
regulations.
well, because and there's multiple things, right? So
Okay.
The Texas Jail Commission obviously governs us, and those are the rules that we follow as far as just the jail itself. So the state of Texas governs what we need to do and have to provide for the inmates and all the services and all that kind of stuff. So we have that. We've got the U.S. Marshals. We have a federal contract where we hold the Marshals inmates. So they come inspect us.
Okay.
We have a contract with them, and they have to run their facilities a certain way. So we have to kind of fall under their stipulations, and so you've got
Does the ICE have to do that too, or no? Not really.
yeah, ICE. We just
ICE will
finished
come in.
one. Yeah, we just finished one not that long ago with ICE, and so we have to do one with them. We have a kitchen,
Okay.
Yeah.
so
We have a full-blown kitchen.
we have people come in and inspect our kitchen. The health department, just like any other restaurant.
Oh.
Yeah.
So the health department comes into the jail and
Oh, yeah.
inspects y'all's kitchen?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
We have to meet their standards.
Ooh, has there ever been a time where they got to give you a little bit of a bad grade and you have to straighten
No,
up?
Not since I've been around.
Yeah.
I was gone from the jail for a period
I'm
of
just
time.
saying because I know sometimes they have to give people restaurants a bad grade.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'll tell you
Oh,
this: the lady who runs our kitchen, and she's a contract worker, and we provide her inmates to help her cook all this food. I mean, about 4,000 meals a day,
Yeah.
right? So
Man.
she is hard nosed.
She is no joke.
She runs that kitchen, and she doesn't mind telling us how it's going to be. She expects it to be at a certain level, a certain standard.
Yeah.
And so I'm telling you, she snaps, and these inmates get to moving.
Yeah, they learn really quick, but they respect her.
Right,
She's there to do a job, and she's directing these guys on how to do it, and she's doing what she's supposed to be doing. And these guys really respect her. They want to work for her. These guys want to work in the kitchen.
So in the county jail, then, because I remember, I don't know the difference, and maybe this will help with some folks out there that are like me who don't know the difference, but like the Jack Harwell, I think is that gone or is it still the same as far as it used to be up under a private deal, and
Correct.
then now
Yeah.
the county took over that too because it was Highway 6, right?
Correct.
And then the second part of that is the Jack Harwell. Am I saying that
Jack
right?
Harwell.
Was at one time private, right? And then now the county's taking care of all of it, right?
Yes, sir.
So did the Jack Harwell, was that like a different, they had to be inspected or whatever, and then you guys, what I'm trying to say is y'all's are,
Was there a difference in
the
how they ran their facility and how we ran our facility?
Yeah, like it would seem like you guys have a lot more
Yeah, so I think
held accountable to compared to a private, I
think
guess.
they're inspected the same way.
Okay. Okay.
They have to
know,
meet the same standards as we do.
requirements and stuff.
And whether they did that or not, I can't speak to that. I just
Sure.
wasn't around whenever that kind of first started. That place opened up, and then the county took it over in 2017, 2018.
Yeah.
I think is when we took it over and started running it. I think the difference in the way it was run was our standards were higher, right?
Okay.
And our standard, we hold our staff to a higher standard. So, there's a minimum standard that the state requires us to kind of live by, and we've raised that standard to make sure not that we just meet the standard, but we do a better job, right?
Right,
Kind of across the board, because we don't want to be flirting with danger, and
Gotcha.
getting any kind of trouble, or or really just making sure that the facility is safe and it's clean and all the things are being taken care of, and we have time frames in which we have to get things done. So
We have a duty to the public, and when you're contracting an agency who is not based out of the community that you live in to run the facility of people who are arrested in your community, I don't think that same standard is there as officers who live in this community work in that facility and the people who are ultimately responsible for the facility are from your community, I think it makes a huge difference in how a facility is ran.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I wanted us to be able to unpack some of that because I know we'll end up, as we continue throughout the different ones we'll do, we'll take off running, which we will. But I wanted to get that answered because, again, I didn't realize that, the county jail, like, you got like a lot of responsibilities that you have to look after, a lot of benchmarks I'm sure you got to hit because there's a lot of stipulations, there's a lot of all that going on steroids, it sounds like. And so I'm sure, there's some things that have to be adjusted just like anywhere else. Some things that you're juggling and something falls down, you're like, oh, snap, we've kind of lacked on this side, and we have to constantly improve and re-improve and adjust and readjust. But if you guys, this is just me speaking. I'm just speaking. Like, I'm realizing, like, y'all got to be doing your job for that thing to stay open, or there'll be some consequences, right? Like, there'd be a lot of stuff going on. So I say all that to say that my discovery, just interviewing you right now, I'm having some aha moments and realizing, like, geez, y'all go through a lot of stuff to make that work. And apparently, I'm sure you guys aren't perfect at it because you're not perfect, but you're aiming at trying to make things better. But I'm sure, what I'm trying to get at is that you're keeping it open. You're able to keep it open. So you're doing something right. So I just want to say, as I do with the Waco PD, talking with them, I like to congratulate them for, and again, I know, they'll admit too, hey, there's things that we don't get right, but we're aiming at it and we're trying to move forward. And so I always congratulate them. So I want to congratulate you guys for all the hard work you do. I know there's room for improvement. That happens in my own household, the church I'm a part of. There's always room for improvement. Right. And so I appreciate you guys, though, for doing the things that you do and trying to do your best and, to lead there at the facility and the department as well. And so appreciate y'all. As a matter of fact, let me give a,
I appreciate that. That goes a long way with us.
You know what I mean? What's celebrated is repeated. And so here at Hope for My City, we like to highlight things that bring hope to the city. And apparently, hearing some of what you already talked about, there's a lot that goes in when our loved ones, I'm speaking from behalf of the community, our loved ones that get locked up in there and we say free so-and-so or something, or some of our loved ones or maybe us end up on mugshots, which is a thing now. But thank y'all for doing the best you can to take care of our loved ones, our people from the community that unfortunately at times, whether they did it or not, I got to say, because some of y'all out there be tripping, but whether you did it or not, that when you're in there, that they're doing their best to take care of you and help you get in there. And as it turns out, they're saying to get you up out that bad boy and hopefully get to a place where you never come back. But if you happen to come back, they're there to try to help you navigate through whatever you got going on. So, because they're at the mercy of even the courthouse, right?
Right.
And so they're just there till they figure that out in the courthouse, right?
Yeah.
How does that relationship work out with trying as it being a part of the system?
So that's it's changed a little bit just because once COVID happened, obviously we're doing a lot of it at the jail. I'll say this: the district attorney that's come in has really pushed hard on the cases that were held before. I know he had a huge backlog when he came into office, and so they've been instrumental. I'll give a shout out to Michelle Seimer. She's one of his assistants, and she comes to our what we call our shoe meetings, and has done a great job working with us. And she's told me, meeting after meeting, hey, give me a list of people I need to work on. They've been sitting here too long. Give me a list. Give me a list. So, we were going through, and the guys that were sitting too long, that the administration, I guess, before them didn't get taken care of, they were helping push that thing through.
Really?
So getting cases worked to, either get them prosecuted and moved out, or hey, this thing's dead, and we need to get rid of it, or it's
They have a very good understanding of the backlog and understanding that these people don't need to be sitting there that long. They need that trial. They need that issue addressed, and And like Chris was saying, I mean, we text messages, phone calls. It's a daily thing. The conversations that we have, meetings that we have with them.
Yeah.
He was talking about our SHU meeting, which is our special housing unit. Again, speaking on that special population again, we need to move these guys and get them that help. And we have these meetings every Wednesday where we have the DA's office come in. We have representatives from there. And Michelle Seimer makes quite a few of those, and she's the assistant DA for this county.
Yeah.
And she comes in and she sits in there. We have our medical professionals come in. We have our discharge coordinator. We have our local mental health authority sitting in on this meeting. And this meeting is specifically geared at that special population group in the jail to see how we can move their case faster, how we can get them help once they get out of here, and they understand. Speaking of our court system, they're very key and vital in that meeting where we can move these people along and get them back to their lives or get them to where their next step needs to be so they can get on with their life.
Who's the person, for the people that are watching that are from the community, who's the person or contact person that they can get a hold of? Say if they have a loved one that's in there that's kind of got lost in the sauce, or they feel it's just sitting there and kind of been forgotten, or it feels like that. Is there a person that the community, the public, can communicate with or look for to kind of get them connected to that concern?
Like outside resources?
Yeah,
and whatnot?
well, like say there's a mom and their son or a wife, and her husband's locked up in there, and let's just say there's not a lot of communication going on, and he's been in there for, I don't know, just longer than what's expected.
Yeah.
Is there any particular, or do you just got to get a lawyer at that point? You know what I mean? Like, is there any hotline, I don't know, that you can call?
We do what we can from the inside to help move these guys along faster, but
Okay.
with their legal representation is probably who they're going to need to talk to first. That they're going to need to talk to their attorney.
Okay.
And then we built those relationships up with those attorneys. And if there's something that we can help move that process along faster, then we'll help that out. But
So it's done through the legal help, basically.
Yeah, and they do. That's the thing about the DA's office too. They worked closely with the defense attorneys. So when their client is in jail and like, hey, we need to start pushing this case, we need to start moving this case, the DA's office is receptive to doing that, and you get people. At one time, it was a bad time. COVID hit, but there's just administration at the time that just wasn't pushing cases through the DA's office, and that's the good thing about the DA's office now is they've kind of taken that backlog and they've really pushed to get through these cases, and the judges have been on board. The judges are, our district judges are, they're holding court cases in their courtroom, and then they're doing Zooms on their lunch breaks, so they're trying to double time it, getting these cases moving, and we appreciate that because once again, it affects everybody. When these people are locked up, obviously it's affecting them and their families and their kind of their livelihood, whether if they have jobs and stuff like that they're trying to get back to, but it costs the taxpayers money, and so we're always trying to minimize or at least be efficient with the taxpayers' money, be good stewards of the county taxpayers and the money that they are given to the county and the jail, and making sure it's spent the right way and be efficient with all the processes that we have. But a lot of times we're waiting on other people, so
Gotcha.
so and that's the thing is there was a time where people would sit back and just, hey, that's not our thing. We're waiting on this person. We're waiting on this office. Now we're picking up the phone and we're making connections with people. And so we're building networks and building teams to try to get these things moving faster because the COVID time, man, it messed a lot of things up and it slowed down a lot of things. So anyways, I would say we've made a lot of progress in the last couple of years. And we've got a lot of, there's too many people that we just need to appreciate. There's so many people involved in this thing, so we everybody that we work with, we want them to know we appreciate them and
For sure.
and keep helping us solve these problems. But I just want to shout out to our jailers.
Shout out to the jailers out there.
And the job that they do every day.
And clap for everybody out
Our
there.
jailers, our nursing staff,
There you go.
our
Everybody out
contractors,
there.
everybody that runs that facility.
Yeah.
They do
About how many, do y'all know the number on that? How many staff and all that does it take to?
So we're right around 300 employees at the jail.
Okay.
But then, you've got 2 doctors and you got 48 nurses on staff.
48 nurses.
24 hours a day. We've got nursing staff on the campus to be able to solve, pretty much all the problems. And if they can't, we transport them obviously to the ER and get them to a place that, they get more equipment or, things that we don't have. So, but we virtually solve all the problems in-house when it comes to medical stuff. So
We have a medical ward. We have triage rooms. We have a place where the dentist does his work.
exam rooms.
Exam rooms.
We do, we do X-rays. We do all kinds of stuff. So our nursing staff does a good job. They're virtually self-sufficient. Sometimes it's just it is a bigger problem. They may need a specialist. So we send people out to dialysis. We just don't have some of the cancer treatments. We have to send them out to those things. But we as taxpayers, we pay for that stuff.
Is that a big deal? Like I'm saying, as far as within the jail systems, like to be able to have all that, like to be able to.
Absolutely, I think.
How so?
Sure. Yeah, so when you think about the bills, right? So if we do it in-house, we're paying these doctors and these nursing staff, we're paying them a salary.
Okay.
Right? That's a whole lot cheaper than medical bill after medical bill after medical bill when
Gotcha.
you start sending these people out time and time again. So like I said, we do have to send some of our inmates out to specialists, and we have to be able to send them to dialysis. And, some of the equipment we don't have and some of the specialists we don't have, we've got to send those things out. But for stitches and bumps and bruises and sicknesses, for the most part, it all gets handled in house. So
like in the month of June, we did 30 outside doctor's appointments. So that's we use our jailers for that transport. We have a transport division who does that. So
Okay.
we did 30. We outsourced 30 doctor's appointments that just couldn't be handled in house, and our transport officers did that in the month of June. Just 30 alone.
Man, that's a whole lot, more than what I thought or realized that, you guys did there. That's a ton. Can't wait to be able to unpack this stuff more and kind of go through there in some of those different departments and areas and unpack some of those departments with the folks there. So, well, thank y'all for showing up, man. We'll continue this, and shout out again to everybody that's a part of the McLennan County Sheriff's Department and all the different things that they do from the. Do y'all have volunteers at the Sheriff's Department?
From time to time, we'll have volunteers come in and help out. We depend on several people to help out with some of the things some of the programs that we run. And
Okay,
the
gotcha.
local churches and stuff, they donate Bibles to us, and
Okay.
I can.
we're going to get you to volunteer.
Yeah,
All right.
we're
We
gonna
need
get
you.
Yeah, I'll give a shout out to Jason Ramos.
Come on, Jason
I
Ramos.
know you know Jason. Jason.
Oh yeah.
Jason has been a very big help to us. He's been there, man. I don't know, for as long as I can remember, ever since I've been running programs. And that's several years. And
Oh yeah.
he's been a direct contact of mine, and he's definitely helped out. He actually helps out a lot. He records church services for us.
Yes, he does.
And he provides them for us so we can put them on the tablet to make them available to our inmates, our 1,300 plus inmates,
Yep.
where they have church service available to them from the time the tablets are turned on in the morning to the time they turn off at night.
That's right.
It's available to them. So
Man, that's awesome. Yeah. Oh yeah, Jason. We had a conversation just the other day about it. But shout out to Jason, man, for all the hard work. He's probably in a prison or there at the jail or doing a Bible study somewhere.
Yeah.
So thanks for all you do, bro, in the community. Anything else as we kind of bring this to a close?
I appreciate you having us on, and
yeah.
this is great to kind of tell our side of it and kind of what we see, and we we want the community to know what we do. We're very transparent, and there's a lot that goes into it. So we want to say thank you to all of our sheriff's office employees, but we want the community to be involved and know what we do. So thank you for having us on. We really do appreciate it.
Of course, it's an honor, man.
yeah, I just want to just kind of mirror what he was saying, is just thanks. We really do appreciate being able to have a place to kind of step up and be a voice for what we do, and kind of answer some of those questions that the community might have. And hopefully we're able to be transparent in what we do and just kind of reach out to the community. And I think this is the platform for it. And I think you're doing really huge things, and
Appreciate it.
we really do appreciate that. And we talked about evolution several years ago. This was unheard of to have law enforcement sitting in a studio talking about what they do every single day. You know,
Yeah.
that wasn't always the case. And
Yeah.
just talking about the evolution of law enforcement, this is huge. This is big. Just to be able to reach out to the community and have that opportunity to do so, and we really do appreciate that.
Amen. Well, thank y'all so much for sharing all that. We will be back, and like, subscribe, and share. This. If you hit the notification bell on our YouTube page, it's going to alert you when we got more things coming out. You don't want to miss it. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave a question on the comment section there, and we'll look at it. I'll tell you this. Here's what I'm going to do. We're going to make this a little interesting. If you have a question for us as we do this Hope for My City Jail edition, if you have a question for us and we select that question and we talk about it here on the air, we're going to give away something. I don't know. It's going to be good, but I'll make sure we give away something that'll be worth your time. Let's put it that way. All right. I'm going to get creative on what that's going to be, but it'll be something I think that y'all would appreciate. So I challenge y'all. If you got a question, put it down. If we select it, then we're going to bless your game. All right. God bless y'all. Thank y'all for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.